What's up, fight fans? This is Kurt DeVille with Counterpunch Boxing News, and I have some new news concerning Terrence Bud Crawford. Terrence Bud Crawford, once again, he tells Errol Spence Jr. not to choose him for a comeback fight. And he says this. He says, Spence said he's going right into a fight with Danny Garcia, Manny Pacquiao, me, Crawford told Mannix. I told him, don't come back trying to fight me because that ain't the fight you really want on your first fight to come back. I wouldn't even take that fight if it was offered to me because it's a lose-lose situation for me. And this is what Crawford also had to say. He said, if something was to happen and I knocked him out or beat him up bad, the media and the fans would say, he's not the same Errol. He's coming off a car accident, and that would never end for my whole career, he added. I just want to see him at the old Errol Spence that he used to be, and then me and him are going to fight. Those are the words of Terrence Bud Crawford. Wow. Now, here's the thing. He also said this. He says, you got to think the two biggest fights in boxing right now before AJ got the loss to Andy Ruiz was Deontay Wilder against Anthony Joshua and Terence Crawford against Errol Spence, Crawford said. Those were the biggest fights to be made. Not taking anything away from Wilder and Fury, but I feel that Spence Crawford was a way bigger fight than Fury Wilder. That's in my opinion. He says when it comes down to fighting, Crawford admits that they jabbed each other on who would win. Crawford insists it's he who will put a beating on Spence to become the third belt holder in the 147-pound division. He say, I truly feel when we fight, I'm going to F him up, Crawford says. He feels the same way. That's why it makes for a great fight. You got the top welterweights in the division telling the media that they are going to mess each other up. So let's see who's going to tell the truth at the end of the day. And those are the complete words of Terence Crawford. Now, if we look at this and we critique this, Terence Crawford is right. I mean, think about what he said. If Errol Spence was going to go in there and fight Terence Crawford, now, for a second, if it's weird because people that are fans of Errol Spence forget. They forget very quickly that Terence Crawford is one of the best pound-for-pound fighters. Okay, he's already a champion at that weight class. Not only did he dock his boat, he's also conquered a certain territory of the island that he came upon. Okay, people forget that very easily, and people are very hypocritical too. And let me explain. How many times have you heard on all these platforms that support Errol Spence? How many times have you heard, does he think or is he ready for another fight or to come back into the ring? They say, oh, he's training, he looks good, he's this and that, but they don't never say, oh, well, he's in tip-top shape. They might try to hype him up, but they never think about, oh, well, they always put that doubt in there, you know, that just in case comment that if Errol Spence wins, it's always, oh, well, is Errol Spence really ready? We don't know. And what'll happen, Errol Spence, and it's sad to say, Errol Spence could always use that as an scapegoat and an excuse. He could always use that. He could say, you know what, I wasn't ready. I thought I was, but I found out when I got in the ring that I wasn't ready, whatever. But more than likely, I think that would just be an excuse, but it wouldn't stop the fans of Errol Spence from using it. So, see, Terence Crawford is about legacy. Do you ever hear Terence Crawford talking about money? Do you hear him talk about if the fight makes sense, it's going to happen? No, that's Errol Spence. Why? Because Errol Spence has been reading too much of the Mayweather doctrine, the Al Heyman doctrine. The motherfucker's not a promoter. I don't care what people try to say, he is not. He can claim to be or have his own promotional company. He ain't the president of that shit. Let's be real. He's not. Al Heyman makes his fights. He chooses who he fights. And that's how it's going to be. Bottom line. So if he did go out there and fight Terence Crawford, it would be no different from Mikey Garcia moving up in weight. It'd be no different from Amir Khan moving up in weight. It'd be no different from Kell Brook moving up in weight. Oscar De La Hoya going up to a few pounds, really, to go up to fight Bernard Hopkins. It would be no different. Why? Because everyone would have an excuse already in place. So if those guys lost, it would be a bad loss due to the fact that, hey, Errol Spence is coming off a bad accident. Amir Khan moved up in weight. Kell Brook moved up in weight. Oscar De La Hoya moved up in weight. Those are those guys set in place excuse. Terrence Bud Crawford knows what that means. And he doesn't want any of the bullshit. He doesn't want to be that guy that beat up a fucking half a shell fighter, or a fighter that was half cocked, or a fighter that wasn't ready, was maybe 50 to 60% ready. No, he doesn't want to do that. He don't want that jacket to wear. And he knows it. That's why he said it, people. And it makes sense. Fight someone else like we know what's going to happen anyway. He ain't going to go right for Terence Crawford. But if he did, of course, we know the excuse is already in place. Not taking anything away from Errol Spence. He's a tough kid. He's a pretty decent, aggressive southpaw. But guess what? At the end of the day, if he took that fight with Terence Crawford, it could mean shit for Terence Crawford. Why? Because Terence Crawford, he fights him and gets beat up. The first thing people are going to say, oh, man, the mental, I don't think he was mentally there. That wasn't the same Errol Spence. Man, Errol Spence got in that wreck. And I know he wasn't 100%, but he fought like a true warrior. So he showed that even though he was hurt and affected and wasn't 100%, he could still do what he needs to do in that ring. And he put up a good effort against Terence Crawford. No. Terence Crawford made the right idea. Let that motherfucker fight someone else first. Let him get his bearings back. Let him look any kind of way first. Okay? Let him look that way. Because what'll end up happening if he goes in there and he beats Danny Garcia, somebody like that, which is mandatory for that, for that belt. He has no excuses if he takes on Terence Crawford, does he? No. But if he takes on Terence Crawford and he loses, he always has, and he already has that built-in excuse. And the media and the fans and the fanboys and the obsessors and all these dudes, the disciples, they're gonna run with that shit. All those guys, imagine Dante's Boxing Nation, Aki, all these other motherfuckers will go and do the same shit. Well, he wasn't ready. We have to pray for Errol Spence. It was bad. He got a beating. He took a beating from Terence Crawford. But I know Terence Crawford himself know that he wasn't 100. And Terence Crawford does. That's why Terence Crawford, right now, to this day, says go fight somebody else. Please. Don't waste my time right now. Show me that you're worthy of fighting me. My reputation's on the line, not yours. You're just a person that may be shell of a person that may have some hangups, some hiccups, some mental tics in the ring. We don't know yet. So it's a good idea. So Terence Crawford wasn't bragging people. He wasn't complaining. He was just explaining. Okay? That's exactly what he was doing. Don't bring his ass over here right now. Because when I beat him up, knock him out, fuck him up, pull a Floyd Mayweather. Sorry, a Floyd Mosley, right? That happens. The first thing people are going to say, excuses, excuses, excuses. Another excuse, another excuse. They're going to do that. But anyway, you guys tell me what you think about Terence Crawford's comments concerning Errol Spence. Of course, please subscribe. And you guys been counterpunched. Peace.